You know what I want to do today is I want to make your lives better. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to give you a social tip that works in a certain situation literally 100% of the time. Let's say that you are going out to play a friendly round of golf or tennis or basketball or any sport that involves competition. It can be the thing where you slide the little metal and plastic things up and down on the little sandy piece of wood at a bar. Anything that involves skill, this is going to work for. And this is going to allow you to talk yourself up as being awesome a whole bunch until you're actually in the moment of play and still save face when you utterly and completely fail. Here's the trick. You just say something like this as you get limbered up and you put on your sweatband and you're twisting back and forth and you're doing deep knee bends and you just say, "It's been a long time since I've played." This is the social equivalent of your childhood ping shield, which was impenetrable to all manner of bullets and laser bolts. You just say this, and then automatically whatever happens next, it's just because you're a little bit rusty, but you obviously used to be awesome. The technique here is called lowering expectations. You lower or temper expectations, and then anything you do is going to be above and beyond awesome. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they're like, yeah, it's going to be about 15 minutes, and then they actually give it to you in 7 minutes, and instead of being mad that you had to wait for 7 minutes, you're like, that's 8 minutes early! VIP treatment, this is amazing. Normally, the tempering expectations technique is one that you and I use for one of two things. One is to lower expectations as you backpedal from previous boasts that you can't actually back up, and it softens the blow and humiliation of the impending colossal failure you're about to put on display. And the other, once again, is the thing where you under-promise and over-deliver. In Matthew chapter 13, Jesus is going to open his kingdom parables discourse with a passage that effectively lowers expectations. He's going to temper the excitement and the anticipation that people are feeling about how dominant his kingdom is going to be in the short term and midterm, but he's not really doing it for either of those reasons. He's doing it for a different reason. And because I'm told by far more sophisticated people than me that having some sort of riddle or mystery on the front end of an episode that we answer at the end is good for keeping people interested, well, you'll just have to hang around and find out what that reason is. That didn't feel right to me. I don't think I want to set it up this way. It feels like a violation of our agreement for how we do things. So here's the reason why right here on the front end. In this case, Jesus' tempering of expectations flows out of that whole eyes to see, ears to hear motif that we've been looking at for the last few chapters in the book of Matthew. There, that felt more like us. Thanks for letting me redo that. Matthew 13, verse 1. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and he sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and he sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, quote, "A farmer went out to sow his seed, and as he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it didn't have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still, other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. He who has ears, let him hear." So today, my friends, as we are getting started on what I think might be top 2, top 3 most important parables in all the teachings of Jesus, we are just getting a toe in the water here, and we're dealing with only 2 big surfacey questions. We'll get to more and deeper stuff as we move along. The 2 questions we're tackling right now are, what is Jesus doing at the surface level in this parable? I'm arguing that he's tempering expectations for what the response is going to be to the kingdom. And the second question we're asking is why? So where do we get the clues that he's tempering expectations? Well, part of the place we get it is a little bit later on here when he explains the parable. But really simply, there's this farmer that goes out and he's spreading seed in stupid places. It doesn't make sense to put seed on a road. Nothing's going to happen. And it doesn't make sense to put it in these awful rocky places. I mean, maybe it'll grow up a little bit, but you're not going to get your money's worth out of those seeds there. Some other stuff fell in places where other things had grown, but even then, how are you going to extract the good stuff from it? There's another parable coming up that deals a little bit more with that concept. But then other seed ended up on good soil where it produced a crop 160, 30 times what was sown. And so at the most basic level here, we're told there are 4 types of soil where the seed, the message of the kingdom, the DNA, replicable data pack of information that holds the genetic storehouse of the values of the kingdom, that is indiscriminately spread all over the place. And in 3 out of the 4 types of places where that seed gets spread, it doesn't work out. Maybe it doesn't work out quickly. Maybe it takes a little longer to not work out, but it doesn't work out. And the measure, according to the parable of what is or is not, quote, working out, is does it produce a harvest? Does it duplicate itself exponentially or does it not? So what we're going to see as we dig into this further and as we get into Jesus' explanation of this parable, which starts not until all the way up in verse 18, is that this parable takes all of the kingdom fervor and energy and excitement that the disciples are feeling as they come into this thing. And what we're going to see as we unpack Matthew chapter 13 is that this opening parable tempers the expectations of the crowds and the people who are excited about Jesus, and probably tempers the expectations of the people who are mad at Jesus. You might all be imagining that I'm going to work these miracles and signs and wonders and everyone is going to sign up, that I'm going to say these things, I'm going to teach with authority that's different than your teachers of the law, and people are going to be like, I just can't help but sign up, and everybody's going to sign up. But I'm telling you, 3 of the 4 types of recipients of this message are not ultimately going to resonate with this message. It's not going to take lasting root, which would have been mind-blowing to some of the people there who were like, how can this not catch on? How can you not expect this to catch on in the grandest of ways? Well, as Matthew 13 unfolds, we see that he does fully expect that it's going to catch on. It's just maybe not going to catch on in the way that people were anticipating, not in the way that normal fads or flash in the pans or big cultural phenomena or things that go viral. It's not going to blow up like that. Instead, the message here about the nature of the kingdom of God is that it doesn't grow and it doesn't expand through the same methods and patterns that you all are used to for how world kingdom phenomena spread. So question number 1 that you and I are dealing with, what is he doing? Well, I think it's very obviously answered. He's tempering expectations about what this growth, what this kingdom unfolding is going to look like. But that leaves us with question number 2, which is, why is he tempering expectations? Well, I don't think he's doing it for the reasons you and I do it. He's not setting up for a colossal failure where everybody's expecting it to work, but he knows it's not going to work out. And so he's trying to save a little bit of face here. No, all the language from Jesus all the way through the rest of Matthew and all the Gospels indicates victory, victory, victory. No, this is what winning looks like. This is working out. So he's not trying to save face because he knows it's actually going to flop. And further, I don't think he's being a social mind ninja here where he is under-promising and over-delivering to have everybody be like, wow, when you put it like that, this is even better. It's like being told a movie was going to be horrible and then it's middling, and now the movie seemed really good to me because I expected trash. I don't think he's playing that game because of the very parables that we're about to look at next. He's talking about the kingdom as though it is this thing of incomparable value. This is the best thing that has ever been a thing. These are the best values, the best kingdom. This is what humanity was made for. Jesus at no point is soft selling who the king is or what the kingdom is. No. It is always held in maximum awesome regard. So then why would he temper expectations? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it looks like it has a lot to do with this idea of God opening the eyes of the people who are going to see it and even shutting the eyes of the people who aren't. Now, that's troubling for you, and you are just jumping in on the podcast, and you're not caught up on the back catalog. You might want to go back and check in with, I don't know, where are the episodes at? Check in on the episodes that deal with Matthew chapter 9, verses 27 through 31, and on through the end of chapter 9. I think I unpacked this question of why would God shut anybody's eyes. We will process it through more in the very next passage. He's tempering expectations in keeping with this theme of God opening and closing the eyes of people, of if anybody sees what the kingdom is about, if anybody understands who the king is, as Peter's going to do in a couple of chapters, that's not because they were just smarter than everybody else. That's because of some kind of difficult to understand supernatural work of God that he made that move in someone's life. Can that be troubling? Can that lead to theological controversy? Yes. Is it in the Bible? Clearly, yes, it is. But I also think that he is tempering expectations here because that's in keeping with reality. What he's describing is exactly the way the thing plays out. And he's not trying to manipulate anybody with little tricks and gimmicks and sleights of hand. Jesus, if you can say anything about him, even if you don't think he's God or not that impressive a character, maybe you're not into all of this stuff, you got to admit, the guy discloses. He is always turning over his cards and being like, yeah, here's exactly who I am. Here's what we're doing. Yep, cool that you want to follow me. Well, I'm homeless. Yep, cool that you want to follow me. Well, you're probably going to die over that. Cool that you want to follow me. Here's how we do things around here. We take up our cross and you follow me, so it's going to hurt. And even though this might make you an outsider and it might hurt and it might feel weird, it's also the truest, best, realist thing. He's always disclosing. He's always turning over his cards. He never baits and switches people. And let me tell you what, if you want to know a sure mark of a cult, look for the bait and switch. Look for the sweetening of the deal. It's like this. Look at here are the best parts. Don't look at the thing behind the curtain over there. Those are cults. That's what disgusting, controlling cults do. That is not the example of Jesus. So why is he tempering expectations? Because tempered expectations compared to what everybody was anticipating at this point was true. He was bringing them back to a place of what the actual outcome would be. Instead of gimmicking them or manipulating, he's always pushing them toward transparency, count the cost, look at this thing for exactly what it is. And I don't know about you, but whether you're in on the Christianity thing or sizing up the Christianity thing from the outside, it's really cool to know that the guy for whom the religion is named is always taking this tone of, no, look at this for what it is, see it for what it is, here's me turning over all my cards. All of that said, we are pivoting right now from a place where he's turning over the cards through overt rhetoric and through the front door theological discourse. We're pivoting away from that for the moment, and we're pivoting toward story and illustration. Both are full disclosure. Both are invitations to eyes wide open faith, but this is going to have a little bit of a different texture to it, and we'll unpack it resultantly a little bit differently. Thanks for talking about the Bible with me. Quick look through my Twitter DMs, my email inbox, and I am reminded that I know we don't all think the same things. I know we're coming from different backgrounds. We're in different places in this story, and yet here we are talking about this stuff together. I think that's awesome, and I appreciate you a ton. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.